Hello, this is Will Dodd from Oconee River GYSTC, and I'm going to show you my favorite settings to use in Stellarium. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Stellarium, and I'm opening it up for the first time. I just got a fresh install on Stellarium, and this is the view that's going to pop up initially. So I'm just going to take you through each one of the menus and change the settings to what I like to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is set my location. So I'm going to go over here. I just moved the mouse to the left side of the screen. This little menu pops up. I'm going to click location window. And in our location, we're pretty close to Atlanta, close enough that if we type that in, it's really going to show us an accurate day and night sky. So I'm going to type in Atlanta, and that's all I'm going to change there. So you can see in my location right here, Earth, Atlanta, and I'm facing south here. So I'm going to go back into the little menu bar over here. I'm going to go to sky and viewing options next. So when I click there, I have a lot of different tabs up top. So I'm going to go through each one of these and just show you what I like to use in my settings. So for the Milky Way brightness, I do like to change that from 1 to 2, and that just gives me a little bit brighter Milky Way in the sky. The other thing I like to change here is I change the projection to fisheye. And the reason I do that is it just alters the picture enough so that it looks good in the dome when I'm projecting, doing a planetarium show. So I do change from stereographic to fisheye. Now, if you're just showing this on a regular projector on a smart board or something like that, you can use stereographic and it won't warp your picture. But I always just leave it on fisheye. So I'm going to click that. Next, I do like to turn off labels and markers, and I also like to uncheck use additional names of stars. That just declutters the view when I'm showing a planetarium show. So next I'm going to go to solar system objects, that tab. And on this tab, I like to go to scale moon and check that. And I like to scale the moon up to 9 times its actual size. And what that actually does for me is when you see the moon in the sky in the planetarium, if you don't scale the moon, you just have an actual size, it's just going to look like a dot in the sky, which isn't really effective in a planetarium show. You want to actually see the phase that it's in without having to zoom in on the moon. So I always scale it up to 9 times its actual size. In this menu, I also like to turn off labels and markers. And again, that just declutters the sky in a planetarium show. Next, I'm going to click on deep sky objects. I'm not going to change anything there. Markings, I'm not going to change anything there. Landscape, I just always leave it on the default. Guérins, which I think is a small French village. Yeah, just like the text says right there. I do like to check use associated planet and position. Reason why I like to do that is if you click on Jupiter or Mars or the moon, it actually takes you to that planet and you can look at the sky from that planet. But it changes the landscape to look like the surface of that planet, which is great. That's effective. I'm not going to change anything else in that menu. I will click on star lore. I'm going to keep it on Western star lore. So all the constellations will be just the Western constellations that we're pretty familiar with. Cool thing with this tab, and I'll do this in another video, but you can click on each one of these cultures and actually change the constellations to what that culture saw those constellations as. So that's all I'm going to do in the sky options. So I'm going to close that out. I'm going to come back to the menu and go down to configuration window. In configuration window, I'm going to go to information. And when you click on anything in the sky, in Stellarium as it's set up, it's going to show all these pieces of information. So for example, I'm just going to click on the sun real quick. So here's the sun. I'm going to click on it, and it shows all that information, which is cool to see. But in a planetarium show, that's a lot of clutter to be shown on the dome. So what I like to do is click short, and then I deselect everything except for the name. That way it just says sun. So in a planetarium show, I don't have a whole lot of clutter showing on the dome at the time whenever I select something. I'm going to go to extras. And I'm going to leave everything the same there. I'm going to leave everything the same on time. On tools, I'm going to show you a couple things that I do on here. Spheric mirror distortion. So I do use a spheric mirror setup when doing a planetarium show. So I will check that when I'm doing an actual planetarium show. But let me show you. This makes the view on your computer screen look crazy. So when I'm not using the spheric mirror setup and using the projector, I always uncheck that. But we'll come back to that in a little bit. I do always check gravity labels, and the reason for that is whenever I'm in the dome projecting a planetarium show, these labels, such as east, southeast, south, they're actually going to be upright no matter what your angle is inside the dome. So I do check gravity labels. Let's see what else there is. I do like to check auto zoom out returns to initial direction of view. That just makes my navigation a lot easier. I also like to click auto select landscapes. That way, if you just happen to go land on the sun with the program, it's not going to still have the Earth landscape showing because that confuses everybody. The other thing on this menu that I will change is mouse cursor timeout. I'm going to change that to 1 second. That way, during a planetarium show, the cursor will show whenever I'm selecting something, but if I leave it still, it's going to time out in 1 second and disappear. That way we get a better view of what's going on. So that's that for my configuration menu. What I will do is I'm going to go ahead and save the settings. That way, everything that I just selected will be the same when I close out Stellarium and then pull it back up. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to exit this menu. I'm going to zoom out all the way and turn on spheric mirror distortion. So I'm going to go to tools, spheric mirror distortion, and I'm going to get this view. This is my favorite view to start out with in any planetarium show using a spheric mirror projector. It just looks real nice in the dome. So in that configuration window on the main tab, I'm going to click Save View. That way, every single time I open up Stellarium, it's going to bring me up on this view. All right. So those are all the settings that I like to use when using Stellarium in an actual dome planetarium using a spheric mirror. So I'll show you more of Stellarium in the next couple videos. See you then.